Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkifi podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Hello and welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today we're joined by Alex Galinos, the head of SEO and SEO product manager at Hoppa, a leading travel brand. He's here to share insights on the strategies behind Hoppa's very, very impressive doubling of organic traffic in the past year, including their content and link building approaches, as well as key metrics for measuring SEO success within the travel industry. Welcome, Alex.
Hello, dear Linkifi team. Thank you very much for having me, and all the best for the show.
All right, Alex, it's great to have you on. I think Chris nailed the pronunciation. We were practicing that before we hit record, so I think that sounds good.
There's room for progress, but yeah.
We can live with that. All right, well, so thanks for coming on. Just to start things off, why don't you tell us a bit about your past in SEO and what you've done?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be very brief because this is the most boring part of every show. The part where the person talks about themselves. So I got in SEO in 2017. I got into it from the content side of things as an SEO copywriter. I focused on the content side mostly for about a year or so. And then throughout the years and across many different companies that I changed and industries and markets, essentially I got exposed to all the different pillars, different markets, EN and non-EN markets. And I've gone through industries like travel and several different sub-niches of travel because travel is kind of vast. Then I've gone through gambling, I've gone through parenting, I've gone through e-commerce, I've gone through education, e-learning. I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting quite a few. It happens every time. And I've done so far 19 markets all over the world. Of course, I haven't physically lived in those markets, but I've worked on them remotely, I mean. Just because I've happened to have worked on multilingual websites like Hoppa is, for example. Hoppa is available in 9 languages. So along those lines, I got exposed into international SEO as well. Right now, I'm the head of SEO at Hoppa, which is a ground transportation aggregator that's active in 10 plus markets in 9 languages, EN and non-EN languages, of course. Hoppa essentially is an aggregator, a platform that travelers and customers can use to either pre-book their airport transfers. Supposedly that, you're going to Mallorca next month and you want to pre-book your ride from the airport to the hotel and back. Or the latest product that we have is that we offer on-demand taxi bookings. So essentially we aggregate many different providers like Uber, Bolt, Get, Addison Lee under one platform so that users can compare prices, find the ride that's most convenient to them, or the fastest one, or the cheapest one, or under several different criteria. And that is a short intro, I would say.
Perfect. That's great. So yeah, you've been around the mill then when it comes to SEO and industries, and you obviously know what you're doing according to Ahrefs. If anyone takes a look at the organic traffic graph, we've seen a really, really nice, almost doubling in the past 12 months alone. So I'm wondering if you can walk us through some of the strategies that have helped you achieve such an awesome growth in organic SEO traffic.
Yeah. So the case is that when I joined Hoppa, it was post-COVID, and what post-COVID meant for travel companies was the fact that half of them went out of business, and then the remaining half was, let's say, under operating. So budgets were cut. I joined the company at a time when many things were not going wrong. So even things on the visual aspect of the website, like I found pages that were broken in the front end. Like I said, the business was half operating during COVID. So I realized that it wouldn't be just about SEO. It would be about, for a good chunk, rebuilding the websites or rebuilding certain sections of the website that were not ideal. During the first year or the first few months, I had to deal with very structural and foundational changes. So imagine that when I joined Hoppa, obviously I was doing my initial SEO audit to understand, what was going on with the website, the things that had to be fixed and stuff like that. And I had to deal with very structural and foundational changes, like a code framework migration. So when I joined, I was announced that we had to go through two migrations. Number one, a code framework migration. So we went from an old code framework called ASP, and we migrated into Next.js, which is a modern JavaScript framework. And then the second migration that we did, which I think we either did at the same time as the first one or right after the first one, was a CMS migration, which I happen to have been the owner for, because traditionally within the context of Hoppa, the CMS falls under the SEO team, because that's the team that creates new pages, that uses the CMS the most and stuff like that. So it was a pretty challenging situation because at that point, I wasn't 100% confident that I understood the business, that, I was at the level where I could handle those migrations. And mind you, somebody might say that, okay, what's exactly a code framework migration and why is that dangerous about SEO? Because, if URLs do not change, then what do you need to migrate? And trust me, anything can go wrong if you change a code framework. And I'm a very, very detailed person, so just because I work very closely with the devs and I train them and I try to understand the logic that the channel operates under, and I spec things in tickets and stuff like that. So I was very detailed, and the dev team, the Scrum team, handed over, like, let's say the first draft of certain pages back to me, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So from an SEO point of view, there were several elements missing, like, I don't know, H1s, like meta titles, like stuff like that.
Basic things.
Yeah. And I was like, did you even see the tickets at all? So, anything can go wrong. That's what I was thinking afterwards, that sometimes we're talking about the growth that we brought and the revenue that we brought, when oftentimes the things that we are called on to kind of achieve is the clusterfucks that might have happened if there was a person leading this that wasn't aware of, what could have gone wrong. So it's not only about growth, but it's about dodging bullets as well. For the first months, I had to deal with that.
Did you see a traffic decline when you did the two migrations?
At first, yeah, but travel is so weird as a niche because there's so many things and so many moving pieces that you have to deal alongside all the optimizations that you do, that it's sometimes very, very hard to say this happened just because of that or because of the two other things that happened at the same time.
Is that like seasonality or more than that?
Yeah, like seasonality, for example, or certain things that might be happening in a destination that you're very reliant on that might have affected performance for that destination. And I have quite a few examples to share about that later on in the discussion.
Did you time the migrations for the least impactful period, seasonality wise then? Was that something that you did, or did you just get it done when you needed to do it?
I got it done because I was told to get it done. So it wasn't my decision when it would be done. I was, announced about the migration, and then I just had to, swim. But luckily, it happened off season. It happened in the winter. So one was that. Then the other side to whatever growth we brought was our link building strategy. So we're kind of going for a combo of traditional guest posting and digital PR. Some other pillars to the growth were a blog redesign that we did, and a content strategy that I set up for the blog, because up until when I joined, the blog was mostly used to create linkable assets that would drive links to the blog. So it wasn't used as an organic traffic capturing vehicle. Then I also set up a winter destinations strategy, because up until I joined, Hoppa was very much reliant on summer destinations, hence facing major seasonality in the winter. So I tried to kind of mitigate the impact on performance in the winter. And this is something that will continue being done both this winter and the winters to come. Then also growing non-EN languages, because in my head, any type of over-reliance is bad, and Hoppa had too much of that for the EN language. And we tried and still try to improve performance on non-EN languages to kind of mitigate the risk on the business if EN market performance goes south. Then we also worked on several other things like page speed optimizations, because our websites were so slow that, inevitably conversion was impacted. And I'm not a person that's, at least based on my experience, page speed is not a major ranking factor. Some people might say otherwise, but based on my personal experience, it isn't. I'm approaching page speed optimizations just from the standpoint of conversions, because if a website is so slow that you wait like 10 seconds for a page to load, then nobody's was going to wait for that long.
Then you have poor user signals, and that does impact your rankings. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I guess these were pretty much the same things, and the overall, let's say, approach that I'm leading the SEO team at Hoppa is more of a revenue-driven SEO approach, business metrics approach, prioritizing whatever actions I think will assist in bringing high-intent organic traffic that's bound to lead to conversions. That's I guess the main takeaway.
So let's start with the content strategy then. What went into the content strategy? Is this there's obvious things like, how do you get to Athens from the airport? When you sat down to think of the keywords, what kind of things came out that were good focuses?
So when it comes to the content strategy and the types of pages, we have two types of pages. We have many types of pages, but they are mostly divided into two buckets. Number one are commercial money makers, and then number two are blog articles. Our commercial pages are available in all the 9 languages that the website is offered in, and then the blog is only offered in the English language. We do have plans to extend it to other languages as well, but for now we're just trying to bring nice performance just on the English language, because the informational traffic potential just in the English language is insane. So content for commercial pages was pretty much done when I joined Hoppa, and in all 9 languages. What we have done with regards to commercial pages is content updates. So over the years, we were seeing gradual content decay of some of our core pages and certain metrics like clicks and, of course, conversions as a result of ranking loss. So what we did is we refreshed the content, and we were very much benefited during the latest Google update. There are, let's say for the most part, there are certain search patterns that we more or less categorize per page type. So our main product right now is airport transfers. So one of our core page types is airport transfers, where we target terms like destination name plus airport transfers, so Mallorca airport transfers and stuff like that. So just because, people are searching for that type of queries across many different destinations, it's kind of a universal search pattern. And then there are also search patterns that have to do with going from one place to the other. So transfer from Mallorca airport to the XYZ resort that's close to the airport. So our strategy is that we target that on a different page type, which we call resort pages. And then there are also some other search patterns like country search patterns, so like UK airport transfers, which then we target that on our country pages. So for the most part, those were set up. Obviously, because I'm a very, very thorough person when it comes to keyword research, and I'm very anal to not miss any long tail that I can miss and target per page. I kind of, went through several different keyword research rounds to find all the long tails, to find potential, let's say, variations that people in the US might be searching and might be using different to the people than the UK, because how we target users is on a language level. So we have the /EN, and we target all the EN countries under that, or all the English-speaking countries under that. But of course, there are certain destinations that are more relevant to the US market, so US destinations. So there, what we usually try to do is to kind of include the US variations of the terms that this page targets alongside the UK ones.
Within the same page?
Within the same page, yeah. So people, for example, in the UK are using the term transfers, whereas in the US they're using transportation. So they're saying airport transportation, not airport transfers. So yeah, this has been the approach when it comes to commercial pages. And then when it comes to the blog, because this is a whole other discussion, when I joined Hoppa, the blog was pretty much non-existent. We had a blog, but it was so inefficient on so many different aspects. There were too many technical bugs. imagine that we couldn't even post images on blog articles when I joined.
On a travel site.
On a travel blog, if you can imagine. And it was funny because the other day I was listening to some other podcast. I think it was from what was the name of the agency? I think Propelic Media. It was a podcast specifically about travel SEO, and I think it was Kevin Endick speaking. And he said that unlike most other industries where people like to consume short pages, not very content-heavy pages, travel works the other way around. So they're looking for content-heavy pages. They're looking for a lot of imagery. So, I was thinking about how our blog looked back when I joined, and was like, okay, that must have been a traumatic experience for the people that went to our blog. So yeah, I mean, the only way we could fix that situation was to rebuild the blog from the ground up, which we did. So we redesigned the blog to a more modern layout, and I was the owner of that project. We fixed a ton of technical things along the way. We also optimized the blog for conversions with certain CRO best practices like sticky conversion widgets and stuff like that. And right now it's on its way up. We were also, when it comes to the blog, we were very much benefited in the August update. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of the content strategy.
As I look through Ahrefs, I can see you mentioned about content overhauls. I can see obviously the new feature in Ahrefs lets you track to see how much of a change there's been to any given content piece, and I can see it's green all the way down. So and those pages have had a large increase in the SERP positioning. So that content refresh strategy has obviously worked. I'm also seeing that you're dominating obviously UK, US, and Spanish markets in terms of the how the traffic's divided. Obviously, this is just Ahrefs. I could be wrong, but those three are clearly the winners. You said you're operating in 9 languages, so obviously outside of the English and Spanish, the remaining 7 languages. That traffic seems to be quite evenly distributed around those remaining ones. Are you slowly working your strategy through the remaining languages to rise the levels across the board? How are you approaching that?
Yeah. So the concept is exactly that. It's to not have too much reliance on either one language or a few languages. So back when I joined, it was too much of the EN language and too much of the UK market, and we're trying to, counter that now. Like you said, yeah, it's right now it's split mostly in 3 markets, and I would say even 2, because Spain is mostly branded traffic. So I'm not gonna lie that it's something that we brought. It's essentially the brand and being known in the Spanish market for the brand. But yeah, it's in our plans to kind of work our way throughout the different markets. Obviously, based on the product that we offer, it's not like there's an insanely big search pie in all the languages that we operate in, but we want to get as much of that in all the different languages. Obviously the challenge is that we are a very small team. It's essentially me and two other members in the SEO team that are mostly focused in the content side of the business and of the game. And with whatever that means, we have to take our time in doing things the right way. We do have external agency support to kind of help us in implementing several aspects of the job, like link building and digital PR, for example. But yeah, it is what it is. You have to play with all the sources that you have available, and for good or for bad, I'm a perfectionist, so I like to take it in a very organized way and do the best thing that I can on a market level. Obviously, all those markets and all those languages have been optimized because, when we did the CMS migration, we set certain mechanisms up that enabled us to kind of mass optimize page templates with things like placeholders and dynamic values that we could include there to optimize the pages based on the destination and the search patterns for each destination. But obviously, it's much more than that because it's content, it's links. It's not like you can rank on any market just by optimizing things like meta titles and H1s. So, yeah, we're taking it one step at a time.
Yeah. Well, when you create a new page, you've got 8 other languages you're going to translate it into. Are you guys using AI for that? Or are you actually, having someone translate it by hand?
Up until this point, we haven't dealt so much with translations. It's something that we're going to get into from essentially October onwards, because whatever translations were in place, they were there when I joined. But just because we need a lot more translations than what's on the website right now, because we have enough content on the in language, but not every page is translated in all the other languages. So we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot because we cannot get certain rankings on non-yen pages because we're lacking content. So, just because we have a new person joining the team right now that's gonna take up all that translation thing, we are, going towards that direction in the non-yen languages as well. But yeah, when it comes to commercial pages, it's not like we have created any new or translated any new for the most part.
Okay. Well, you're on the Linkifi Market Movers podcast. You mentioned links. Let's talk links. Tell us, you mentioned guest posts. You also mentioned digital PR. That's obviously our bread and butter. Why don't you start with guest posting for us? Tell us how you are operating a guest posting strategy. What are you looking for in terms of the post? Are you doing a manual outreach? Are you buying links from vendors? Just walk us through the whole shebang.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, we are doing a combined approach of guest posting and PR. In my eyes, this is the ideal combo if you have the budget, of course, because those two levers serve different functions if you have the budget to support them. So on the one hand, you have guest posting that gives you do follow links from relevant travel websites and on non-branded anchor text for the most part that matter to you. On the other hand, you have PR, which gives you links that are usually no follow, but we do have suspicions and theories that they might be giving essentially juice because Google might be looking at things like traffic from those links and stuff like that and essentially passing value. But on the other hand, those links are not from as much relevant travel websites all the time, but they are from really authoritative websites that you usually cannot access with guest posting. So, and then those links are usually on branded anchor texts. So I think this approach kind of builds a balance on your link profile that, in my eyes, is ideal. Plus, you build insane authority from the PR links that also mitigates the impact of Google updates.
Perfectly explained. That's exactly our opinion as well, yeah.
Yeah. So to get back to your question, when it comes to guest posting, I have kind of a twofold approach at Hoppa. I usually build a steady flow of links each month to the pages slash destinations that are really important to the business. So like the big money makers. And then based on seasonality, I try to build links to other pages as well. For example, winter destinations in the winter and then summer destinations in the summer. So imagine that I have some sort of link building map where I map my targets, my target pages, and then I kind of like color code them. So a certain color for my main money makers, then a different color for the winter destination, then a different color for summer destinations. And then on a per page level, I have like 2 or 3 anchor texts that I pick for that page based on factors like search volume, like keyword difficulty, or like conversion potential. Because some of the things that I do is that I usually borrow data from our PPC department to kind of get insights on a keyword level for the keywords that convert for them, and what conversion value I can expect if organically I start converting for those keywords. So if from the PPC data I see some really high value keywords, then those I might include in my link building strategy for the pages that I want to target. So I kind of, just because I have this more revenue driven approach, I try to include that into all the pillars that I can include, link building as well.
I think it was a good point you made about the digital PR and links helping when Google updates roll out. And I think that's important to understand. It's like, in Hoppa's case, it's a little easier to understand why someone would link to a transportation page, right? You could be giving instructions. So there is some like realistic reasons why people would do that, although not in large quantities, of course. But for a lot of businesses, there's very little reason anyone would actually link to their focus pages, right? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So the more links you build to those pages, the more obvious of a link building footprint you have. And when you build those digital PR links, those homepage links, it just insulates you a little bit more from those updates. Like if you're being talked about in the news, it makes more sense that people would naturally discover you and link to you, even if you're the one doing that linking. So I thought that was a good point you made there.
Yeah, I think that especially in the case of aggregators, for the, let's say, the money pages, the commercial pages, it's exactly what you said. It's the fact that you're writing about things that it makes sense in the world of the internet that somebody would link to that page because, obviously you're not going to turn your commercial pages into informational articles, but it's not like you're talking about 100% transactional things that it makes no sense for some other website to link to that page. So just because on our commercial pages we have things like data, like how long it takes to get from this place to that place, or areas to visit for that place, and we have all sorts of APIs, external APIs that we feed to that page, and those APIs feed information on that page that's rich and that's relevant to the page, and that it makes even more sense for some other website to link to that page. So I think it's, realistically speaking, you have to, as an external user, to look at your page and to just say, would anyone link to that page based on the content that page has? If the answer is yes, and maybe have some other person that's not involved in the business, I'll give you an opinion.
Not the link builder.
Yeah, exactly. If the answer is yes, then yeah, maybe it would make sense. If the answer is no, then maybe you need to find some other vehicle. And then the other thing is that what you said about PR, I think that PR is essentially a very powerful vehicle that you can use and you can turn and direct to whatever you want to direct it to. So on the one hand, yes, it gives you those homepage links, powerful links, mentions that, kind of also mitigate the impact of updates. But then it also gives you the option to build all those on-site content assets that you build them once, and then with minimal effort, you update them the next year and then the year after, and then you keep you keep the flow of links coming year after year. And then, of course, you internally link through the content asset to whatever pages you want to boost. So I think it's a very powerful method, and it's something that you can use to boost many different types of pages that you want to boost. And it's something that we do at Hoppa as well.
Yeah, that's great. And I was just wondering, what's your guest post like link velocity strategy? So how are you determining how many guest posts to build to any given money page? And is that something which you're constantly monitoring and using like competition analysis, that sort of thing? How are you determining how many guest posts and when to build them?
Yeah, of course, everything is determined based on the competition and how much, at what rate they're building their links. Other than that, other factors that determine the number of links is, of course, the spend that we have available. We try to do it in a way that's, that's as relevant as possible, just because, travel is a niche that is dominated by blogs. So the amount of travel blogs available out there is insane. So the inventory is very big. So yeah, I guess that the way we do it is on what's available, and then, of course, based on performance. So if for whatever reason we see that the XYZ page has fallen in rankings, and we see that there's no other reason for this outside of links, and we might have seen, for example, that our main competitor or some other website has started gradually boosting the number of links to their equivalent page, then we might say, okay, maybe this page needs a couple more links. And of course, it also depends on the importance of each page for us, because imagine that we have tons and tons of destinations. So obviously, we cannot build links to all those destinations. Imagine that just for the UK market, we're using Ahrefs internally to track performance, and just for the EN market, for the UK market, just because I have everything clustered in tags on our rank tracker for many different destinations. I was checking it the other day, and I have like, I think 250 tags to track the destinations. So each tag is a destination. And obviously I cannot track everything. That's just our let's say our 250 most important destinations. There are others, of course. But aggregator websites are vast. So the challenges when it comes to link building is how you're gonna divide spend, and then under what criteria you can divide spend. So is it gonna be seasonality? Is it gonna be, conversion values? Is it gonna be search volume for certain terms? So yeah, it's kind of a multi-folded approach, if that's an actual term.
Yeah, so you have to factor in, which pages are actually going to pay off. If you put, spend money building links to them, which ones will actually pay off? You mentioned earlier that your SEO strategy revolved around focusing on an ROI, focusing on the activities that provide an ROI. So I'm curious, when it comes to SEO, how do you actually track the ROI of your SEO efforts?
Yeah, so the way we do it is that we have custom Looker Studio reports that blend different sources of data and give us many different metrics, both SEO metrics as well as financial data. So both things like traffic metrics, session data, as well as metrics that come from our CRM. Some of those metrics, for example, are revenue for the organic channel, margin for the organic channel, average conversion value for the organic channel, average margin value, SEO spend, net profit for the organic channel, and ROI. And we don't track all those metrics just for the organic channel. We track them for every channel at Hoppa. And those metrics go both on a channel level as well as on a page/destination level. So we get many different nice insights on destinations, for example, that might be doing well from a financial metrics perspective, like high value destinations when it comes to revenue. And then if those destinations don't perform well organically, then we might say, okay, what can we do to kind of boost performance, boost rankings to those destinations, and further increase, revenue potential, margin potential, and stuff like that. So our reporting gives us insights that are essentially twofold. Number one, we're seeing the pages that do well from an organic perspective, from an organic traffic perspective, and then pages that do well from a business perspective, that we can then take that and say, okay, let's boost rankings to those pages as well, and milk the cow.
Since you have such in-depth tracking on that, do you know roughly what position a keyword needs to get in before it breaks even? When do you start to, because if you've invested quite a bit of money into pushing up a keyword, it's on page 2, it's probably not making any money. Is there we need to get it in the top 5, the top 3, and that's when you start to have an ROI?
A rough estimate, and I don't like to brag, but a rough estimate is that, for the destinations that we're tracking, at least on Ahrefs, we're on first page for all of them. So whatever we're tracking, we're on first page and we are getting money out of it. It's usually the top 5, of course, that you see the biggest revenue potential and ROI from. But yeah, for the ones that for the pages that we are investing link building on, those are for the most part top 5, or at least after some point that we've done link building on them.
And where would you say that organic sits in terms of ROI against the other channels?
It's a very weird timing for you to ask me that, because I don't know if you guys have heard, but this whole thing with attribution right now has happened, where direct has gone up in all businesses, or in many businesses, and has completely fucked up the situation with reporting. So the current situation is that organic sits at the top. And my North Star metric is a net profit. So this is the thing that I'm looking. So right now, organic sits first across the different channels in net profit. We have the attribution thing going, so I cannot give you a 100% definite answer.
Okay. Alex, I think this is a great spot to wrap up. It's been a really good talk, but maybe as a final question, in the travel space, what do you see playing out over the next few years? Some industries, some of the search is starting to move to other platforms like TikTok. Are you seeing any interesting trends in the travel industry, or any projections on search trends for the next few years?
Yeah. Good question. I think that, with all those things that Google is rolling out right now and all those fancy, rich snippets and AI overviews and stuff like that, it's becoming harder and harder to keep the visibility that you used to have. So, what we're seeing, and I'm sure that what many businesses are seeing, is the fact that we are improving our average position year on year, but yet somehow clicks start declining. And this, of course, has partly to do with the fact that it's all those things on the actual SERPs that are leaking clicks from the website. So I think the challenge is to do all the things that you need to do to be part of those snippets, whether that be the AI overviews or other snippets that are unique to travel, because we on travel we have things like, based on the search pattern, we have different things, and based on the sub niche as well. So if you ask that question on a flights website, then they're going to tell you that, yeah, Google is showing the flight snippet at the top, and they have 100% fucked us. If you ask that on the get your guide type of platform, then those guys are showing the things to do snippet, which if you're not in there, then this takes away clicks from the pure organic listings. So I think the case here is that you need to take all the actions that you need to take to be in those snippets. And I think that's the major challenge, as well as, being as business focused driven and revenue driven as possible.
Great answers. Yeah. Get as much real estate as possible and keep it the way it's going. Yeah. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I am very, very active on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to chat to other people. And the name is Alex Galinos, so feel free to send me a connection request.
Or Galinos.
Yeah.
Was that better or worse?
Yeah, it was an improvement.
All right. So we're going in the right direction. That's good. All right, Alex, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
And that wraps up this episode of Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify. Big thanks to our parent company, Linkify, the wizards behind turning ambitious businesses into standout brands. Hit up our website at linkify.io and take the first steps towards brand greatness. Big shout out to Fame for making this podcast possible. Thanks for listening, folks. Stick around for more insights in our next episode. Catch you later.